Alright guys, here at Nationals with your boy Teague. You saw him play on stream. If you were watching the stream, he got top 32 with Vegito. And you know Teague goes to local, so you've seen him on the SS4 video. You guys blew that up, so go ahead and smash that like button for Teague so we can see some more content in the near future. Tell us how your event went.
It was a little rocky to start off with, actually. I lost my first match to SS4 and then had to climb the X1 and then X2 bracket up into playing through the bubble in round 9. But it was really interesting. Do you want me to go through the matchups? Or
I mean, if you can just give details if you want, yeah.
Yeah, so I played Sin round 1, lost to O2. Or sorry, not Sin, SS4. And I actually did not play Sin at all in day 1. Played a couple of Crimson Coups, a couple of SS4s, Beerus, Pan.
What were your losses to?
Loss was to SS4 in round 1, and then I lost to Legends in round 5 on Gamma, I believe. It went to game 3, but those cells destroyed my board in the end, so that was that. But other than that, I had a couple of 2-1s, 2-0s. I got, the last round was against Crimson Coup, and I got that one 2-1 to get into top 32, so that was awesome.
Awesome. Let's go and get into it.
So I decided to play Vegito. I picked this up about a week ago because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to play. I don't like the other red decks. I'm not a big fan of a lot of the blue stuff that's around right now, and green is green. And I didn't feel like playing Trunks Vegeta. I've been on that for a while, so I wanted to change it up. So I really like the new support for this and decided to give it a shot. And I guess it turned out really well. So we can go ahead and start. I'm actually going to start with the Z deck first. So of course we have the leader. He just makes all of your Gokus and Vegetas red, green, and blue. They are not yellow, so you have to remember that and play certain cards specifically to make sure that you do have yellow, I should say. But amazing leader, since he does that, you're basically playing a rainbow deck, even though you're a red leader. You're not really going to be on this side for long. Usually, at most, I'll spend 1 turn on this before I go to my Z Awaken. And I'll go ahead and go over the Z deck now, since it's kind of crucial to the entire deck. So, the new Z leader, absolutely amazing and about as broken as they could possibly make it. He's got base double strike. He Z Awakens for one red on a Vegito. Doesn't matter what your life's at, you can be at 8 life and Z Awaken, which happen all the time, honestly. Same permanent, so your Gokus and Vegetas keep their multicolor facets. And then he's got 2 activate mains. So the first one is if you have 3 or more energy, you activate main and you play an 8-drop Vegito on top of a Vegito Z battle card that you control. So this is great because there's several really powerful 8-drops, and this is what gives the deck basically all of its pressure and its most broken play that we'll get into later. But really crucial. It is great when you get to go first because doing this when your opponent's only on 2 energy allows you to pressure them like crazy. So this deck's good going first or second, but gets insane when you do get to go first. The second activate main, you bottom deck a card from your hand, draw 2, and then bounce a battle card back to your opponent's hand, ignoring barrier. Again, amazing. It gets rid of Z battle cards all day, which is great because they get removed from the game, but also threats that would normally be hard to get rid of because they have that barrier on them. No problem here because you just bounce them back to hand and force your opponent, if nothing else, to replay them, but in some cases it completely solves the issue. If it's not another card, they can replay like that. So the Z leader. And then the other new card out of the anniversary box is the SS Vegito Ready When You Are. So this is what you're playing your 8-drops on top of. It also helps you awaken at 8 life. So it costs 1 green and a Z energy. It's got deflect, so you never have to worry about it getting hit by like a Wolf Fang Fist, a God Sealing, or anything like that. And then it also has a permanent. If there's 3 or more colors in your Z energy, he gains barrier. And because your Gokus and Vegetas are all treated as red, blue, and green, as long as you have a Goku or Vegeta in your Z energy, he'll also have barrier. I did have that come up a few times this weekend where I would, if I didn't happen to see an 8-drop when I needed it, I left him on board, and my opponent used removal trying to get rid of him, not realizing that he still had barrier because I did have a Goku or Vegeta in my Z energy. Also, it's nice if you need to swing or sequence in a certain order. If you know he has barrier, you don't have to worry about getting hit with something like a Realm of the Gods. The auto, when he's played, you look at the top 7, grab any Vegito card, no energy cost restriction on that. And then if you do grab one, you have to bottom deck a card from your hand. So of course this helps you find your 8 drops, but in all honesty, I used it a ton to find my polymorphic Pataras and resolved combines, which we'll get into in a bit. But those cards were crucial to the deck. And then the other activate main is what makes a deck playable. If your leader's Vegito and you have 2 or more energy, you remove him from the game, flip your leader over, and draw 2 cards. So again, you play this. If you go first, you play this turn 1, turn 2, or sorry, you charge turn 1, turn 2, you play this, and then remove it and flip over and draw your 2, and you're now an awakened leader. And usually you can Z awaken on that same turn to still be at 8
you
life.
go from that to that, so you draw 2, then you draw the bottom deck, draw 2.
Yeah, this deck draws a ton of cards. There were games where I would easily maintain a 12 to 14 card hand. So
I've had like 18 cards in my hand one time playing that deck. I was like, what?
yeah, it gets insane for sure, and that consistent draw power is what helps the deck a lot too. So 4 of those. You do have to do 4 because 1 is always going to be removed from the game for its effect, and that only leaves you with 3 to play your 8 drops, and you will go through all 3 every single game.
And this is Rush Attack?
This is Oolong.
Oh, Oolong, okay.
Yep, so I played the 1 Oolong. I was actually on 2 of this at first, but cut 1 for the Rush Attack.
Oh, okay.
So Oolong's awesome. Of course, you do play yellow in the deck. So you pay 1, play him, and he can copy any battle card. So a lot of your Vegetos are 35 or 40k. So you can play him, copy a big 40k card. And this would get people, I think they weren't really expecting it because it's not a yellow leader. But there were several times where I would triple strike my opponent from 4 down to 1 with 1 energy up, and they would take it thinking there's nothing I'm going to do with them having, 7, 8 cards in hand. And then I would just pay the 1, play the Oolong, and swing for another 40k, and they couldn't get out of it. Rush Attack was a late addition. I actually added this in on Friday night after LCQs. I was playing 2 Oolong, but the second one never really came up. Rush Attack, most of your games you'll only have 1 to 2 Z energy throughout the game, but when it starts getting defensive or into the later game, you'll easily build up 4 or 5 Z energy. And Rush Attack gives you another finisher, as well as some nice board removal. So this did come in clutch. It won me probably 2 or 3 games throughout the weekend, just being able to go for that big double strike swing. So that wraps it up for the Z deck. Going into the main deck, we're going to go over the super combos real quick. So we played 3 Vegeta Proud Warrior and 1 Raditz Saiyan Youth. In case you're not familiar with the Vegeta super combo, most Vegeta decks I see are on Beerus or Raditz, but this guy is absolutely amazing. Not only is he a Vegeta, doesn't really come up that much, but he does count for 3 colors if you Z-charge him. But you can use him at 8 life, which is great because you're going to stay at high life. And then when you combo with him, you play a blocker, a token that gains blocker for the turn, and it's a Cyberman token, so it's got 5k combo power. So the reason this is so good is because most super combos, you combo, you draw a card, you get out of the attack that was swinging at you if it was a 20k or 25k or something. But then if there's another attack coming at you, you have to completely combo out of that. This one, you can use it to combo out of something like a 20 or 25k, and then the blocker token that it plays is going to completely stop whatever the next attack is coming at you. And if you do need to, you can combo with the tokens. They are unique, but you just combo once, play the token, immediately combo that token, combo again, play the token, etc. So no matter what, this is always going to be a 15k combo if you need it to be. And then I did play the 1 Raditz just because I wanted something that would still draw me 2 if I ended up with some dead extra cards or 1+10s in my hand that I wanted to cycle out for more combo power towards the end of the game. This split worked great. I don't think I would really change it at all. These were amazing. I would not cut them. And the Raditz was good. If you wanted to, you could maybe swap it for Beerus, but you do play some blue and green cards in the deck, and it'd feel real bad to flip one of those over off Beerus. so I like the Raditz. Next, we're going to go over the Vegetas and the Gokus. So, as I mentioned, you do have to play yellow cards because you don't get that color.
And these are just the best ones.
Yeah, basically. So Vegeta Fatherly Encouragement is just a negate. You don't play any Trunks Future, so you're not going to restand anything. And then the SSB Vegeta Future on the Line. Theoretically, you can evolve him on this Vegeta. Every time I negated with this Vegeta this tournament, though, it always got killed before I had the chance to come back and play him. So this was always just energy or discard. But I did negate with this quite a bit throughout the tournament, so that counterattack is really relevant. If you don't have these, because they are kind of expensive, you could just run something like another yellow Vegeta. But if you have these, they are extremely clutch for the deck. And that's 8 cards for yellow. And then for more Vegetas, we played 4 Vegeta Protecting His Loved Ones. It's a cantrip, so you play it, you draw 1. Ideally, you play it turn 1, draw 1. Your opponent swings on you, and you combo it off to your Z energy. Because it is important to make sure that you sequence your Z energy right. You want to have 1 going into turn 2 at least, so you can play your Vegito to awaken, and you want to make sure that you have enough to Z awaken, and etc. But his other auto did actually come up quite a bit. Against blue, I would just stick him on the board and basically make sure my opponent knows that they cannot count on restanding energy with a Dimension Magic for the game. So that came up some, but a lot of times he was just that cantrip for a turn 1 play. And then the last 2 Vegetas, we mained 2 Resolve Reneweds. He gets reduced to a 1 cost if you have 3 or more energy, so that would come up occasionally, but he was, again, really clutch against blue because they got that new Beerus Z battle card, which has barrier but does not have deflect, so all weekend blue players would tap 2 for Beerus thinking that they were going to get in or remove my board, and I would just play for Resolve Renewed, and now they tap 2 for nothing and their turn's basically over. He also was intended for stuff like Riposte, but I didn't play any yellow. But yeah, he was absolutely great. I think 2 was a good number in the main board. Sometimes he would just sit in hand, but when he came in clutch, he definitely came in clutch.
You can also take a life. That potentially can come
Yeah.
on. If you played you play Raditz, so.
And then for the Gokus, we played 3 Legend Personified and 3 Fusion Synergy. Legend Personified, again, just a cantrip, draw 1. And then he does have the Activate Main Bond 3 to boost his power by 21k. So that actually came up, again, a lot this weekend. I didn't think it would come up that much, but there was a lot of games where I would have a couple of Vegetos on board or something, and I would use the Goku to push through a damage or an attack that they weren't expecting, because again, they'd be like, oh, you're on 1 or 2 energy, you're not going to do much, and I'd drop him and push a 25k threat. And then the Fusion Synergy, he's a good play if you're going second, because it allows you to swing offensively and get a Z charge while not actually giving your opponent a card. I never swing on my Unawakened side because you're not gaining any advantage, but this does allow you to, like I said, you get that swing in, push your crit damage through on your opponent, and get your Z energy. So he was really good. I think 3 on both of these is good. I had enough of them when I wanted them, but I didn't ever clog on them. And then for a few more Gokus, we had 2
How you feel about that one?
facing Goku Black. Again, it's kind of just the best yellow Goku that you can play. He is a 1-drop that searches the top 5 for a yellow Saiyan. So the one time I played him this weekend, I did hit, but again, 9 times out of 10, he's just a yellow card because you want to make sure you have your yellow count up. Seeing yellow turn 1 is important for another card later in the deck, and having yellow in hand is also important for another card. So he was fine. I think 2 is good. I don't want to clog on him though. Then for the last 2 Gokus and Goku/Vegeta.
I like this red one.
Yeah, so Sun Goku at the ready just came out of set 19. Just a cantrip that searches the top 5 for red Saiyan 4 or less. which is really good because it helps you get your polymorphic Pataras, which are, you know, a great play starter for you. So only one because I felt like the yellow was a little bit more valuable and the offensive power provided by the Legends and the Fusion Synergy, but he was fine. And then Goku and Vegeta Saiyan Synergy, it's another negate and it's both names, so it can be whatever you need it to be. The auto does not trigger because you are not a blue leader, but still, as a negate and as two names, it was a good one-up. I don't think I would want to play more though, because the other ones are better for drawing cards or being able to apply pressure. So that's it for the Gokus and Vegetas. You got a lot of them because you do want to make sure that you see them to charge basically every turn. You don't really want to be charging non-Goku and Vegeta cards, at least until you get to 4 or 5 energy, because it can mess up some of your plays that require specific color energies. But yeah, I think I played 10 Vegetas and around 10 Gokus, and then the Saiyan Synergy that counts as both. And I never really had an issue where I ran into not having a Goku or Vegeta when I needed it to charge. So, good count there. Moving on into the Vegito package. Honestly, this package was the standout of the entire deck as far as the main deck goes.
It draws you 2 cards.
Yeah, absolutely. So Polymorphic Patara, you pay 1, and you can play a Goku and Vegeta 2 cost or less from your deck or drop with their skills negated in rest mode. And if you don't use them, they go away at the end of the turn. Never going to happen. You always Patara on them. But it does that, and it's important to know that it does it from drop. I didn't realize that when I first picked up the deck. But if you're running low on your Gokus and Vegetas in deck, you can always just grab them from drop. And then Resolve Combined, Patara's for completely free and draws you 2 cards. This was my favorite turn 1 play if I had both of these.
If you had the option, you do it.
Yeah, exactly, because you're just drawing 2 turn 1 and you're setting this guy up for turn 2. 25k barrier. Not a lot in the format's going to remove him. Black Smoke is definitely a thing. I ran into that some, but still it's always worth it when you can go for him. And then he does have the Activate Main / Battle, where you pay 2 red and play a Vegito with a cost of 7 from your deck on top of him. So that Activate Battle, like I said, it grabs you a Vegito cost 7 and plays it on top of itself. And that's going to be the Hyper Rush SSB Vegito.
One of my favorite cards.
Yeah, this guy is actually insane. So he's base triple strike 25k, and he's got an auto when he's played that does so much. You can take up to 2 life, that is optional. You draw 2 cards, you KO one of your opponent's cards, and you randomly discard a card from their hand. That part's important because I sniped multiple super combos throughout the weekend, and just a lot of other key cards, so that randomness really plays in because you're not letting your opponent get rid of their worst card. You have the potential to get their best card. And this being Activate Battle comes up both offensively and defensively.
Because you can pop.
Exactly, and I would play this and swing and they'd be like, okay, it's 25k, whatever. Then you pay your 2 and now you're on a triple striker, and they never really know if you intend to do that because I would swing with this guy all the time.
Negate.
Yeah, because he's barrier and 25k, so he's a good threat on his own. And then they wouldn't really know if I might go into the triple striker. And defensively, like you said, in my round 8 matchup against Pan, he kind of had me dead to rights. I was at 4 life and had 1 free negate in hand. I was tapped out, and he overwhelmed for the SCR, the Vegito, and took my free negate from hand. But he forgot that I had 2 energy open and this guy on board. So when he swung with his SCR, I just paid 2, went into the Hyper Rush and KO'd it, and that won me the game from there for my round 8. So yeah, absolutely clutch card. I used this card in so many different ways throughout the weekend. Yeah, best card in the best package in the deck, I should say.
Shows the big boys.
Yep. So for the 8 drops that you're going to play on top of your Vegito Z card, we've got 2 Paralyzing Prowess and 1 the Savior. Paralyzing Prowess is just a deflect triple strike barrier. He's a big dude, he hits hard, and he's hard to get rid of. There's not much more to say than that. I liked him because there is a lot of removal running around in the format. So having something that's protected against most cards is solid. The Savior is a crit dual attack that gains double strike on his second attack. No protection, so that's why I only went with one of him. But it did come up throughout the weekend. Actually, in my round 9 match, it came up and won me the game in that to get into top 32. And in game 2 against my top 32 against Duval, this guy won me game 2. He bottom decked it with I think it was the Gohan card or something, or Realm of the Gods. And then I polymorphic Patara to shuffle my deck, Patara into Resolve Combine, and drew back into this guy. And when I played him, he just scooped it up because he couldn't deal with the crit swinging. So 1 is good, but I don't think I would change these ratios.
You just need 3.
Yeah. Again, because you always remove one of your Z cards, you can only ever play 3 8-drop Vegitos on top of it.
And you never charge them because they're not red.
Yeah. There was a few times I would combo the leftover one, but I definitely never charged them. Now for the spicy Vegito pick, we had one SSB Vegito Soaring Blow. He's a 20k that when he's played, you get to bottom deck up to 2 of your opponent's cards, so it's good removal. And the thing that makes him so good is he can Patara from your energy. So he's kind of like a second Overrealm. There was a couple games that came up where, again, I would be tapped out or down to 1 energy, and my opponent would think that I was done. And being able to play him for free by using cards in my energy allowed me to get in that extra sling that I needed. So
it's just like an extra Overrealm.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really need more, but the 1-of is definitely clutch. Then for the other 2 1-ofs, we have Omega Shinron and our Overrealm Vegeta Thane Greeting.
Only 1 sin?
Yeah, because I primarily want to be playing Vegitos, and in a lot of cases I want to use that 2 energy either for the Activate Battle and Resolve Combine, or I want to use it to play my Z card, or just for some defensive options. But he did come up a couple times just as another triple striker. You can play him if your leader is a Red Sea leader. That's why we're able to use him. And the idea behind him is that if you happen to go through all of your Vegitos or you're not in a good spot to play one, he's just another big threat that you can play out. And then Thane Greeting is your opponent warps 1 when you overwhelm him. Just a big 30k dude. I went with him over something like Dark Broly, because you do so much removal in this deck that there's a lot of times where your opponent won't have a battle card on board, and this at least can get some value by reducing their hand size.
I like the Trunks, the 4-cost one. That gains a draw card and +5.
Yeah, if I wasn't playing Thane Greeting, I'd probably play the Trunks. They're going to be kind of similar. For our negate package, we played 2 Imposing Presence and 3 Whis, Angel of U7.
Perfect ratio. I love this ratio.
Yeah, so I went with Imposing Presence over something like Nimbus, which you can play, or Violent Rays, because this can be free when I'm at 3 or less life. So if I'm tapped out and need to use it, I still can. And also, with a lot of decks running around like Crimson Coup, playing that dual attack Piccolo, decks like Pan, this being able to reduce those 15k or 20k swingers can really help basically just shut down an opponent's turn. But only 2, because you can only activate 1 in a turn. And you draw so much, you see the cards you need to see 9 times out of 10.
And this is just a token negate that's not turn 1.
Right, exactly. As long as you have yellow, because when you have all 4 colors, he's just a token negate that you can play from 8 life. Again, really good, and the reason that we don't play the token negates because he's just better in every facet.
Can't combo with a token negate.
Nope. And then the last 2 extra cards was 2 Almighty Resistance.
I like 2.
Yeah, it's battering, but for 2, this is one of the big reasons you have to play yellow as well, so that you have to pitch a yellow card when you activate this. It probably won me 4 or 5 games throughout the weekend. But yeah, 2 is good because, again, you draw so much, you see it, and you don't want to clog on too many extra cards. There's a lot of games I just won without needing this, but you definitely want to have it as an option. I used it to stop some Dirty Bursts throughout the weekends.
Oh, yeah.
I think I even used it on like a Yamcha once or something. So a lot of different things you can do with this. And then the last card is going to be the Power of Patara SCR. So this is just the best SCR for the deck. It's an 8-drop Vegito, so you can play it for free on top of one of your 1-drops. He's got Triple Strike, and then he's got a permanent that you need to watch out for. If your opponent has 6 or more cards in rest mode, he is reduced to a 5-drop in your hand, so then you cannot play him for free.
Unless you tap 5.
You could do that, yes, but I had a couple people try to play around me and make sure they had 6 cards in rest mode. But again, because you have so much removal thanks to your leader, it was pretty easy to get them back down to under 6 cards.
Yeah.
And then the auto, when he's played, you get to rest mode up to 4 of your opponent's cards and then draw 4 cards. So again, turn 3, you pay 1 for your Z card, you play him for free, tap out your opponent, draw 4, swing, and then Almighty Resistance if they negate, yeah. Game winner. I don't know if you saw the last game in my top 32 where he was the last card in my life, and at least had a large impact on me losing that game. But yeah, all around great card. I don't think you'd want to run another SCR. If you don't have him, you can always do like SS4 Vermilion Saiyans or something, but he was fantastic all weekend. I won almost every single game where I was able to play him. Yeah, fantastic card. There's a reason he's like $170 right now. That's the last card in the main deck. Do you want me to go over the sideboard?
It's up to you.
Yep, you can go over it real quick. So, for the sideboard, we had the 2 Violet Rays.
You're good.
So I didn't, like I said, I didn't main deck these, but I wanted to sideboard them just in case for something like the mirror match or
OTK.
Yeah, anything else that happened to come up where I was like, that'd be good. They came in like 1 game this weekend, but they were whatever. 2 Dirty Burst. This was for SS4 for the mirror match. Gamma actually with their 8-drop cell. I did bring this in against SS4, and it won me my round 6 or round 7 matchup against them because they overwhelmed for the SCR, and I dirty bursted so I couldn't swing with it that turn, and then I was able to win on my next turn. So, I mean, you're multicolor, so you can easily play this. 2 Senzu Beans. This was for the go wide 15k swinger decks. Just to kind of have a little bit of defense if they were trying to rush you down. I brought this in against Pan because everything she plays is a 15k, so that was pretty good. Another card that was primarily for SS4 was Black Smoke Dragon. This card was everywhere this weekend. I had it played against me quite a bit as well, but he's got Deflect, and when he's played, you can either draw 2, warp a Unison that costs 2 or less, that has 7 or less markers, or warp a card ignoring barrier.
I done all the effects.
Yep, so I used him again against SS4 to get rid of that Unison because it becomes much easier if they don't have the Unison on board. Also used him against Gamma because again, it becomes much easier if you don't have the Unison. I never really used him to remove a barrier card because my leader does that already, but absolutely amazing card still. Then we played 1 Shin Mirror match, SS4. I never drew it when I sided it. I mean, I did only side 1, but still a solid card. 1 Koitsukai. This was for you in case I played a cooler matchup.
It was for me.
I knew there was going to be a little.
It was for me.
I knew there was a little bit of cooler in the room, so I wanted to have it. Also, if I played yellow, something for riposte. We had the 3rd Resolve renewed in the sideboard. I brought this in every game against blue, again, because hitting their Beerus was so disruptive to their turns that it basically was just a free turn that it bought me. So I like the 3rd one in the sideboard. 2 Crown. Again, I brought this in against blue, and it did what Crown does in my round 8 matchup. I used this in game 2 or 3, I can't remember which one. He had energy. He had 3 energy up. I used this, and he had the blue Gohan God Rare, but he was waiting to try to use to get rid of my SCR.
Yeah, you can doink it.
And I just pulled it out of his hand and proceeded to win the game from there.
I took one of those. I used Broly Crown on one of those too.
And then the last 2 cards were 2 Trunks of Cunning.
It could be the other one, or Peel Off, or whatever one you want.
It could be any of the Cunnings. I went with Trunks because it is yellow, so I can pitch it for Almighty Resistance, or if I need to. But if you don't know what he does, when he's played, he draws 1, and then if your opponent wants to untap energy during their turn, using a battle card or extra card effect, they have to warp 5 cards for every energy.
So they can't do Divinity combo.
Yep. So the reason I cited this was for the Goku SCR and then the Dende deck that plays with Goku SCR, because that's kind of how they win, and with Crimson
it's just
Coup
Divinity,
playing it.
yeah.
So it did come up in top 32. It helped me out, and I think I cited it in one of my Swiss rounds as well. So, I mean, it worked out. He did what he was supposed to do.
Yep. Both good blue SCRs.
Yep, and those were the last 2 cards from the sideboard.
Any shout-outs?
Yeah, want to give a shout out to Team 7 Star as a whole. They're the ones that kind of told me to play the deck because nothing else was working for me, and helped me test it really well for the weeks leading up to Nats to make sure I had the best build. Chris for letting me borrow a couple of cards. Mitch from Havelock for letting me borrow the SCR so that I was able to do as well as I did. AG Gaming in Havelock for being a great place to play and test. And then PPG for running a great event. The judge staff was amazing. They were all super helpful. The time between rounds was literally like 5 minutes, which when you're in a 9-round tournament with 80-minute rounds, that really makes a difference. So it was a great event, and it was really fun. Of course, shout out to Airfare Gaming for the profile. I appreciate it. But yeah, it's a great event. I'm glad I was able to do so well. It's great to top at such a large profile event, and to give Vegito some love. Classic set 2 leader that I've always liked, and now can finally actually do something in the meta, so that was great.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next video. Deuces.